Welch, Oklahoma is a small town located just 8 miles south of the Kansas state line. Although it has a small population of just over 600, it is home to one of the most prolific unsolved crimes in the state of Oklahoma. In the early morning hours of December 30th, firefighters from Welch, Oklahoma responded to a trailer fire out in rural Welch. The home was that of Danny and Kathy Freeman. At home with Danny and Kathy was also their daughter, Ashley Freeman, and her best friend, Laura Bible. The fire had been ruled an arson by local police. The remains of Kathy Freeman were found in her bedroom with a gunshot wound to her head. The remains of Danny Freeman were also found at a later time. The whereabouts of the two teenage girls were unknown. In December of 1999, I was actually living in Pitcher, Oklahoma. I had recently graduated from Pitcher High School, and I was attending Northeastern Oklahoma A&M College in Miami, which is just a few miles south of Welch. Living in such a small community, everyone was affected by this tragedy. We either knew the families directly, or we knew someone that was closely related to those families. The tragedy happened when we had heard of the trailer catching on fire and that the two girls were missing. As a small community would do, we kind of banded together to kind of help search for the girl. After two convicted killers had confessed and then later recanted, there was finally new evidence that led to the arrest of Ronnie Busick. At the age of 66, he was charged with 4 counts of murder for the deaths of Danny, Kathy, and Ashley Freeman, and Laura Bible. There were also 2 other suspects who were named. They were Warren Philip Welch II, who died in 2007, and David Pennington, who has also died in 2015. There were several witnesses that all say that all 3 men had bragged about raping and murdering the 2 girls. All were alleged to have had killed the parents, over drug money. The 2 teenagers were said to have been held captive in a cellar at a home in Pitcher, Oklahoma, where Pennington had lived at the time. In July of 2020, Busick pled guilty to accessory to first-degree murder of Danny and Kathy, torching their home and abducting the 2 girls and resulting in their deaths. He was sentenced to 15 years, with 10 years to be spent in complete lockup. But to this day, the remains of the 2 girls have yet to be found.
Looking for some type of below ground structure. The suspect, David Pennington, told his ex-wife at the time, or his wife at the time, and his stepdaughter not to go around it. He didn't want them around it, and which brings up some suspicion. So based on what Mr. Busick has said about thinking that Pennington talked about filling a root cellar about the time the girls would have been possibly murdered or killed and disposed of. So that brings us out here looking for a possible root cellar that he didn't want them around.
After you've done this for 21 and a half years, it's another tip. We're just going to come and see what it is and see if it's going to bring the girls home or it's just another tip. You just hope that this is the time the good Lord's going to say, let's bring the girls home.
If and when we find these girls, it's gonna be just tears of joy for so many people.
Most people tell me that they wouldn't have lasted this long. And it's just by the power of the Lord and family and friends that, in prayer, that you can sustain it.
We're not going to stop until we can find that closure.
Friends and family have recently created a memorial in Pitcher, Oklahoma, the last known whereabouts of Laura Bible and Ashley Freeman. The family continues to hope and pray that they will one day have the answers to their questions of who actually killed the Freeman family and Laura Bible, what happened the night of their disappearance and the murders, and where are the girls today.